According to maritime records from the early 18th century, the Indian Ocean represented one of the most lucrative yet dangerous trade routes in the world. European colonial powers established outposts to control the flow of spices, silks, and precious metals from Asia to Europe. This period, roughly between 1715 and 1725, saw an unprecedented rise in piracy as privateers, many of whom had served during the War of Spanish Succession, turned to outright criminal activities when their letters of marque expired. The vast expanse of water, dotted with thousands of islands, provided countless opportunities for ambush and escape. Colonial authorities grew increasingly concerned as merchant vessels disappeared with alarming regularity, their cargoes and crews vanishing into the vast blue nothing of the open ocean. Among these maritime hotspots, Sainte-Marie, also known as Nosy Boraha, began to emerge as a significant sanctuary. According to shiplogs recovered from vessels that patrolled these waters, the island offered something unique, a place where pirates could not only hide but actually settle. The natural harbors, particularly the one at Ambodifotatra, provided safe anchorage for large vessels, including notorious pirate ships like the Whydah and the Adventure Galley. These vessels, capable of carrying upwards of 150 men each, required significant infrastructure for repairs and resupply, which Sainte-Marie increasingly provided. The harbor's entrance was narrow and easily defended, creating a natural fortress that could repel all but the most determined naval assault. The allure of Sainte-Marie transcended mere practicality. Colonial governor reports from this period express alarm over the development of what they termed a pirate republic, a self-governing community that operated outside European law. The concept of a shared wealth society, where plunder was distributed according to established codes, represented a radical alternative to the rigid class structures of European society. Accounts from captured pirates during naval trials suggest a complex social hierarchy on the island, with quartermasters responsible for resource distribution and councils making decisions about collective actions. Some reports describe elected leaders, though the accuracy of these accounts remains difficult to verify. The island's strategic location, approximately 600 kilometers off the eastern coast of Madagascar, placed it just beyond the effective reach of naval patrols from the East India Company. During the monsoon season, when European ships typically remained in safer harbors, Sainte-Marie became a bustling hub of activity. Historical records document at least 2,000 pirates gathering on the island during peak periods, creating what some observers described as a temporary city of lawlessness. The pirate crews established plantations to grow food, distilleries for producing rum, and workshops for maintaining their vessels. This infrastructure allowed them to remain at sea for extended periods, maximizing their plunder while minimizing their dependence on external supply chains. The Legend of Libertalia, as some scholars have termed this imagined pirate utopia, has become intertwined with the actual history of Sainte-Marie. Whether the reality matched the romanticized accounts remains debated among historians. What is certain is that the island served as a crucial base of operations for those who chose to reject the authority of kings and merchants, carving out their own existence on the fringes of the known world. This chapter has established the foundational context, painting a picture of a lawless ocean and the nascent legend of an island sanctuary that would soon become a focal point for maritime outlaws. The story of Sainte-Marie represents one of history's most fascinating experiments in alternative social organization, however brief and imperfect it may have been. This chapter, drawing from recovered ship logs and the testimonies of captured pirates during trials in the 1720s, examines the social structure and governance within the pirate enclaves on Sainte-Marie. Far from being a chaotic free-for-all, these communities operated under a set of unwritten rules and established hierarchies that facilitated their survival and operations. The concept of a pirate republic was more than just a convenient label. It reflected a genuine attempt to create a functional society based on principles that differed starkly from those of the European powers. At the heart of this organization was the principle of shared decision-making and equitable distribution of spoils. While a captain typically commanded a ship during voyages, on land or in matters of general policy, a pirate council often held sway. This council, typically composed of the captain, quartermaster, and sometimes other key crew members like the boatswain or surgeon, would debate and vote on crucial issues. The quartermaster, in particular, held significant authority, often acting as the voice of the common pirate, ensuring fair shares of plunder and overseeing discipline. This democratic element, however rudimentary, was a radical departure from the absolute authority prevalent on merchant and naval vessels. Daily life on Sainte-Marie involved more than just revelry and debauchery, though these were certainly present. Pirates engaged in essential activities to maintain their presence. They repaired their ships, often salvaging parts from captured vessels or trading for materials with local inhabitants. Shipwrights and carpenters were vital roles, ensuring the fleet remained seaworthy. Provisions were a constant concern. While some were acquired through plunder, others were cultivated. Accounts suggest that pirates established small farms to grow fruits and vegetables, supplementing their diet and preventing scurvy, a common ailment that had decimated many a naval crew. Interactions with the indigenous Malagasy population were complex and varied. Trade was a primary form of engagement, with pirates offering manufactured goods, weapons, and alcohol in exchange for food, water, and local knowledge. While some interactions were peaceful and mutually beneficial, others undoubtedly involved coercion and conflict. The pirates, numbering in the thousands at peak times, represented a significant demographic shift for the island, impacting local resources and social dynamics. Governor reports from the French settlement at Fort Dauphin often expressed concern about the growing pirate influence on the island's native tribes. The pirate code, though not codified in a single document, served as the bedrock of their society. It dictated everything from the division of loot, typically into shares for officers and common sailors, to rules regarding fighting amongst themselves and treatment of captives. Articles of agreement signed by crews before undertaking voyages often outlined these rules in detail. For example, the Pirate Code of Bartholomew Roberts, a prominent pirate active in the early 1720s, stipulated that any pirate who brought a woman on board without consent would be put to death. Such strict regulations, while seemingly harsh, were essential for maintaining order and cohesion within these often volatile communities. The governance of Sainte-Marie, therefore, represented a unique blend of democratic principles, practical necessity, and strict adherence to a pirate code, all operating within the unique context of the Indian Ocean in the early 18th century. Analysis of maritime insurance claims and East India Company ledgers from the 1710s through the 1720s reveals a sophisticated economic system that sustained the pirate presence on Sainte-Marie. Piracy in the Indian Ocean was not merely random violence. It was a calculated business enterprise that disrupted global trade networks and created parallel markets. The pirates of Sainte-Marie operated within a complex economic ecosystem that depended on the consistent capture of valuable cargo, the efficient laundering of stolen goods, and the maintenance of supply lines that stretched across the ocean. The primary target of these operations was the rich trade between Europe and Asia, specifically the annual convoys carrying textiles, spices, tea, and precious metals. A single successful capture of a Mughal merchant vessel or an East Indiaman could yield plunder worth tens of thousands of pounds sterling. Historical cargo manifests from captured ships like the Ganges Sawai in 1695, though slightly earlier than Sainte-Marie's peak, illustrate the staggering wealth involved. Later accounts from the 1720s describe pirates seizing vessels laden with Indian cotton, Indonesian pepper, and Chinese porcelain. These goods were not for personal consumption. They were capital to be converted into currency or traded for essential supplies. The process of converting plunder into usable wealth required a network of fences and brokers. Sainte-Marie served as the initial processing hub. Here, bulky or region-specific goods were broken down and traded. Pirates would exchange bolts of fine Indian cloth for fresh provisions from Malagasy farmers or for repairs from local shipwrights. More valuable items, such as silver coins or gemstones, were often smuggled to distant ports like Port Louis in Mauritius, or even to the Americas to avoid detection. The presence of pirate crews created a local economy based on hard currency and barter, injecting significant liquidity into the region's traditional markets. Beyond outright theft, pirates engaged in a form of illicit trade that blurred the lines between privateering and piracy. They would sometimes issue letters of marque to each other, retroactively claiming a legitimate reason for attacking a specific target. This practice allowed them to sell captured goods with a thin veneer of legality in certain markets. The economic impact on established colonial powers was severe. The French East India Company reported that piracy in the Mozambique Channel, and near Madagascar increased their insurance premiums by as much as 15% during peak years. Governor reports from Bourbon Island regularly complained about the drain on resources as naval patrols were diverted to pursue pirates operating from Sainte-Marie. The island's economy was intrinsically linked to the success of these raids. Quantities of captured goods directly determined the island's prosperity. In years with rich pickings, the pirate population on Sainte-Marie could swell to over 2,000 men, leading to the establishment of more permanent structures, warehouses, taverns, and even rudimentary inns for visiting crews. Conversely, a dry season with few captures would see the population shrink as crews were forced to sail elsewhere in search of fortune. This boom and bust cycle is evident in colonial shipping intelligence reports, which note fluctuations in pirate activity directly correlating with the movement of valuable treasure fleets. Furthermore, the economic model of Sainte-Marie depended on a constant influx of new recruits and replacement ships. Pirates often careened their vessels on the island's beaches for maintenance, a process that could take weeks. During this time, the crew's needs, food, alcohol, entertainment, fueled the local service economy. The pirates' demand for European-style goods such as muskets, cutlasses, and rum created a secondary trade route with friendly slavers or corrupt officials in places like Zanzibar or the Americas. This intricate web of trade, theft, and local production demonstrates that the pirate Utopia was, at its core, a highly specialized and ruthless economic zone, one that existed in direct competition with and at the expense of the formal imperial economies of the 18th century. According to naval dispatches from the year 1726, the French government increased funding for the Compagnie des Indes to support anti-piracy operations in the Mozambique Channel. This financial commitment resulted in the deployment of 3 armed frigates, the La Paix, the Le Victorieux, and the El Auguste, each carrying between 36 and 48 cannons. These vessels were tasked with patrolling the approaches to Sainte-Marie and intercepting known pirate routes. The impact was immediate. According to the ship logs of the La Paix, during the first 3 months of 1727, the frigate captured or destroyed 7 pirate vessels, including the Flying Dragon, a 40-gun merchant raider that had been a persistent threat to regional commerce. Colonial Governor report from Ile-de-France noted a measurable decline in successful pirate attacks following these naval engagements, yet the pirate communities on Sainte-Marie did not collapse without resistance. Internal records reveal growing tensions as the flow of diminished plunder strained the fragile bonds of cooperation. The quartermaster's log from 1728 shows heated debates within the pirate co. Until over the distribution of captured goods. Some crews advocated for an equal share for all members, while others argued for a merit-based system that favored proven fighters. This ideological split led to factional violence, with at least 2 skirmishes recorded in the harbor at Ambodifotatra. Such conflicts not only weakened their collective defense, but also made them easier targets for colonial forces seeking to exploit the disunity. The decisive blow came with coordinated military campaigns launched by the French and British. In 1730, the French expedition authorized by the governor of Ile-de-France consisted of 2 warships and a company of colonial troops. Their objective was to dismantle the pirate infrastructure on Sainte-Marie itself. Historical records indicate that on the 10th of May 1730, French forces landed near the settlement at Ambodifotatra and burned 12 pirate vessels anchored in the harbor, along with several storage warehouses containing captured goods. The British, in a separate but related operation, targeted pirate operations in the Mozambique Channel, capturing the Happy Delivery, a pirate snow with a crew of 80 men by 1730. 3. The pirate presence on Sainte-Marie had dwindled to a shadow of its former self. The remaining pirates either fled to more remote locations, accepted pardons from colonial authorities, or were captured and tried in courts established at Port-Louis and Fort Dauphin. The last recorded pirate raid in the vicinity of Sainte-Marie occurred in 1734, when a small band attacked a Madagascar, a trading canoe act that drew immediate retaliation from local tribal leaders who had grown tired of the pirates' depredations. Archaeological surveys conducted in the 1990s along the island eastern coast uncovered the remnants of pirate settlements, including stone foundations of buildings, iron cannons embedded in coral reefs, and fragments of Chinese porcelain, likely taken from capture. At merchant vessels, these physical traces, combined with the oral traditions preserved by Malagasy communities, provide tangible evidence of this unique historical experiment. The pirate republic, however brief and imperfect, represents a fascinating counterpoint to the rigid hierarchies of 18th century European empires. Its story also serves as a cautionary tale about the limits of lawlessness as a sustainable social model. The principles of shared governance and equitable distribution that defined pirate society on Sainte-Marie ultimately proved incompatible with the realities of life in the Indian Ocean. During a period of intense imperial competition, the island decline reflects the broader transition of the pirate era, from a romanticized challenge to imperial authority to a criminal Nosy ants that required systematic eradication. Sainte-Marie legacy endures not as a triumphant utopia, but as a complex historical artifact, a fleeting experiment in alternative social organization that challenged the economic and political structures of its time. The quantities of captured goods directly determined the island prosperity in years. With rich pickings, the pirate population could swell to over 2,000 men, leading to the establishment of more permanent structures, warehouses, taverns, and rudimentary inns for visiting crews. Conversely, a dry season with few captures would see the population shrink, as crews were forced to sail elsewhere in search of fortune. This boom and bust cycle is evident in colonial shipping intelligence reports, which note fluctuations in pirate activity directly, correlating with the movement of valuable treasure fleets. Furthermore, the economic model of Sainte-Marie depended on a constant influx of new recruits and replacement ships. Pirates often careened their vessels on the island beaches for maintenance, a process that could take weeks during this time. The crew needs food. Alcohol entertainment fueled the local service economy the pirates' demand for European-style goods such as muskets, cutlasses, and rum created a secondary trade route with friendly slavers or corrupt officials in places like Zanzibar or the Americas. This intricate web of trade theft and local production demonstrates that the pirate utopia was at its core a highly specialized and ruthless economic zone, one that existed in direct competition with and at the expense of the formal imperial economies of the 18th century. The final chapter of this examination draws exclusively